Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's podcast, I'm joined by current Merrimack women's hockey player who just finished up her 4-year career with Holy Cross, Mary Edmonds. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, Mary, and how's everything going?
It's good. I graduate on Friday, so just waiting till that happens right now, moving out a little bit, but yeah,
Nice,
feeling
nice.
good.
How crazy is it that you're done with your undergrad, I guess, career?
Yeah, it's pretty sad, honestly. I feel like there's been a lot of lasts, especially like with the season ending a couple months ago, but now it's more, I think we're all kind of just waiting to get out of here a little bit. It's been a long month, so
Yeah, yeah. Well, I kind of want to start the podcast just talking about your recent transfer to Merrimack. You obviously had that extra year due to COVID. So, what made you want to use that grad year and go to Merrimack? Because I was told that Holy Cross is one of the few schools that doesn't allow fifth years on the team.
yeah, so we don't have a grad program. So that kind of it definitely puts Holy Cross it's hard because you can't get the grad transfers that so many schools have benefited from. But it made all of our choices, I guess, easier because we didn't really have the option to stay. So I think right away in the fall, a lot of us decided to enter the transfer portal. I wanted to play another year. I was like, you can't give up that opportunity. So yeah, I was in contact with the coaches at Merrimack quite a bit throughout the season. Um, and then I went there after the season and visited, and I loved what I saw. I loved the staff. I had a good feeling when I went there. So yeah, I'm excited to go. It's close to home. I like staying in Hockey East, so it kind of checked all my boxes for me.
Have you had the chance to meet the team? And I guess what are your team's goals and expectations for next season?
I've met a few of them. I've met a few of them. I know a few of them through mutual friends and whatnot. Um, I think it's a young team. They're looking to bring in some more older kids to sort of lead the way. I'm really excited to be able to do that. I hope that we can. They've had some success in the postseason in the last couple of years, so I really hope that that would be a goal for me to win a playoff game next year. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
And when you played against Merrimack in the past few years in hockey, what's something that you noticed about that team that you feel like you can add and make it, I guess, better if when you're going to join the team next season?
Something I've definitely noticed, especially in the last year, is they're very aggressive and gritty. And I think something that I kind of pride myself in is that like grind. That's what all my teammates say. Like I'm just like I'll grind in the corners. I noticed playing against them, like they're so physical in the corners. They're hard to play against in that aspect. So I'm excited to be able to add to that.
And obviously, it's going to be weird heading back to Holy Cross next season. What's your whole thoughts on that game when that finally comes up?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot. I've talked to my teammates about it. It's definitely going to be weird, but we played against a couple of our old teammates this past season, and I mean, it was fun, and it was fun to see them in a new environment, and they all seem to be like thriving in different ways. And so, I think for anything, it's kind of a fun little like homecoming experience. No hard feelings.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for those games.
I just feel like it's gotta be weird to like sit on the visiting bench, go to the visiting locker room, and like warm up on the other side when you're so used to doing everything on one particular area. At least that's how what I feel like would be the weirdest part about the whole thing.
No, definitely. That's going to be so weird when I come back here for sure.
Well, how's your off season been like so far? Obviously, you talked about how you're graduating, but do you have any summer plans? And what do you want to work on for next season?
Yeah, I train the same pretty much every summer in Connecticut. I do a IPH hockey. I've been doing that. Like I've been skating with them since I was 12. They're awesome. It's a lot of college kids. There's also like a 4v4 college league in Connecticut that's run by the Polar Bears and Janice Yang, which is awesome. And it's basically just all the college kids in Connecticut are scrimmaging against each other. And then this year, what's unique for me is I'm going to be moving in to Merrimack in July. And so I'm going to be training there all summer and taking classes. And like we don't have that here. I know a lot of schools do. So that's going to be super new for me. But I think I'm excited to like get acclimated because I've obviously never been there before or I've never lived there before. So I think that'll be a good experience for me, definitely.
What are some of the classes that you're going to be taking this summer?
I'm getting my master's in education and teaching for high school. So just a lot of education classes. I was a education minor here. There's not a major, but so I'm excited to be able to take more of those classes.
What subject do you want to teach in high school?
I think history.
Nice,
I want to coach hockey for in high school and teach history. So
nice.
yeah,
I don't know too much. I feel like every history teacher is always like the most chill teacher, like in the school. It feels like I don't know why.
yeah. I really hope that I bring that energy with me.
Now let's transition and talk about the beginning of your hockey career and sort of work all the way down to where you are today. So, like you sort of mentioned, you're from Fairfield, Connecticut. Talk about growing up there and how'd you start playing hockey?
Yeah, I'm the youngest of five, and I have three older brothers, and they started playing hockey with their school that they went to, their middle school. And so I would be stuck at the rink every weekend watching hockey. I was probably like three or four at this time. And then I was just like, all right, if I'm going to watch all this, I might as well start playing it. So my mom was very against it. And then my little 4-year-old self walked up to the skating instructor at the rink and asked her if she could teach me how to skate. So that's kind of when it began. My mom couldn't really say no at that point. So yeah, I grew up playing with the boys my whole life. I played out of Bridgeport, Connecticut with the Wonderland Wizards for a while. And then once I went once the hitting started, I switched to the Polar Bears. And then when I went to Deerfield, I ended up playing for the Boston Junior Eagles.
Yeah. Well, who was like your favorite player growing up? Because you're from Connecticut, so I don't know if you're a Bruins fan, Rangers fan, Islanders fan. So, who was your favorite
Yeah,
player growing up?
I'm a big Rangers fan. So I went to Adam Graves's retirement night. Obviously loved Mark Messier. He's a little older than my time, but definitely the player that me and my brothers were obsessed with was Pavel Datsuk. And he's kind of why I wear number 13 now. We would just like sit in our room and watch highlights of him over and over. And that was kind of when the Red Wings were in their prime and they were winning all the Stanley Cups. So he was a legend in our house.
Yeah, I like the move where you like I think it was against San Jose where you like dekes out those two defensemen and they like hit
Yeah.
each other and it's like one of the craziest things I've ever seen because I feel like
Yeah.
you never see that again.
It's ridiculous. He has just, I mean, I definitely don't, I'm not really like a hands person, but he had some unbelievable moves. I definitely don't really mirror my game off him, but I was just a huge fan of him.
Well, before college hockey, like you mentioned, you played for Deerfield Academy and the Boston Junior Eagles. I guess talk about your experience with both of those teams.
Yeah, I mean, both of those teams, I had amazing coaches with me, and they really helped develop me as a person and a player. At Deerfield, we kind of started off, I'd say the way that I started off Holy Cross, where my grade was sort of the rebuilding grade. And so it was really cool to be a part of that, but it was also really hard. We took a lot of losses in our first couple of years, but then by the time I was a senior, we were really starting to shift into the next year. And at Deerfield, they got Brooke Fernandez my senior year, and she came from Middlebury, so she really started to bring that experience and coaching. And I still stay in touch with her now. She's awesome. She had great, just she was just very smart, and she helped us a lot. She helped the program a lot. And then at Junior Eagles, I had Mike Maloney as my coach, and he was like you either loved him or hated him. I love him so much. I have so much respect for him. My whole team did. We ended up winning the national championship with him. We had just this powerhouse of a team. And he was so hard on us, but it was like awesome. We all learned so much from him. He helped us become a better player. So it was great.
And how did both those hockey experiences with those teams help prepare you for college hockey with Holy Cross?
Yeah, I think for it was definitely two very different experiences. I feel like for Deerfield, I was kind of like one of the top players on the team. I was like the person that they relied on to get the points and be a leader, especially my senior year. And then for the Eagles, I mean, I was probably one of the last commits on the team. Every single kid on our team was playing D1 hockey. We had USA kids on our team. Like it was just ridiculous. So I had two very different roles. I kind of had to work my way up in the Eagles and try to get that spot on one of the top lines. Um, And so it was two very unique experiences, but I think they helped me learn a lot. Like I got very confident at Deerfield, but then I also realized like, hey, you're also you have to fight to get in a lineup too. So I think both of those helped me when I started here at Holy Cross.
What's the best memory you have from Deerfield or Boston, the Boston Junior Eagles hockey days that when you look back on it now?
I'd say from Deerfield, my last ever game there, we went to Loomis and we had never beaten them in 4 years. And I scored in overtime with like zero point 0.1 seconds left to beat them. And like we weren't even going to playoffs or anything. It was just the fact that that was our last game ever. We finally beat them and it was in overtime. It was just an unbelievable feeling. And then, I mean, it's hard to like not say this, but for Boston Junior Eagles, we beating Shattuck in the finals, national championship. It was just awesome. I mean, it was like all of my best friends. It was such a close group. We had so much fun together, and we were out in California, and winning the national championship with them was just like we all felt like we were on cloud nine. It felt like the best day ever. I think we celebrated for like 4 months after that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, talk about your recruiting process with Holy Cross, and I guess what made you want to go there versus other schools you might have looked at.
Yeah, for me, I definitely going to prep school, like a lot of people I talk to, like you want to stay in like the small school arena. So like Holy Cross kind of checked all those boxes where it's a small school, small classes. So academically, I was really like I really liked what I was seeing here. And then in terms of hockey, it was very similar to my Deerfield process where Katie talked to us as if we were going to be because it was we were transitioning to D1 at that point. They were maybe a year or two in, so we were still going to be a part of that rebuilding stage. We were a little later, but we were still kind of fresh. So I liked what I was hearing. We were going to be making an impact right away at a young age. We were going to really help turn the program around, make history every year. I was like, all right, sign me up. So I loved what I was hearing.
Now, as a freshman, what was like the biggest adjustment you had to make to college hockey?
Um, Definitely the speed and just like every time I touched the puck, my first couple of games, I would just like want to get rid of it right away. Like I was like so scared to like make a mistake. And so it took me probably my entire freshman year to like get more comfortable, especially for us. We were facing like 50 shots a game my freshman year. We would have like 10 shots maybe. Like it was very, very defense heavy. So in that way, I learned a lot and I got a lot better defensively, especially as a center. But then when we started getting better and we started getting deeper, I had to learn to adjust to actually creating offense and holding onto the puck and just being more confident. But I think that just came with time.
And like you mentioned, your freshman year was not an easy year for your team. You guys started off the season really on a tough note, but then it seemed like you sort of ended the season on a strong note when you guys got your first D1 sweep against Vermont. So just talk about that freshman year and what that sweep at the end of the season against Vermont meant to your team that year.
Yeah, it's that's those are kind of the games that like this is you kind of say like okay, this is why we're doing this. Like it's part of the process. It makes you feel like this wasn't just kind of for nothing because I mean losing is horrible and then consistently losing is just really really hard. But you learn to like take the small victories and really appreciate those. So when you'd like sweep a team or win a series or even just win that one game, it just felt it was like the greatest feeling. And you felt like everything that you're working towards was finally starting to come together, especially for us. Cause I mean, every game we went into, we were the underdog. I mean, I still think to this day we probably were. So it felt really good to get those wins.
Now, during your sophomore year, you obviously had to deal with the many challenges due to the pandemic, with no fans in the stands and sort of an inconsistent conference schedule where you only played 16 games. How did your team handle that adversity, and how did it make you a better hockey player when you were going through all those challenges as a team?
Yeah, so that was a really hard year. We were the only team, us in basketball were the only people that were allowed on campus. We like couldn't hang out with each other or anything. Um, it was so hard, but I think it definitely made us all a little tougher. And I think in a way you start to appreciate hockey more because those were kind of the days where you were forgetting about like all the other stuff, all the outside noise that was going on. And you could really just focus on like the task at hand. And I think like looking back on it, it definitely made us a lot closer for my last 2 years here. Um, but it was definitely a very unique experience. I would never do it again. But I think those games were kind of like you just felt relief when in the moments that you were playing because you didn't have to think about anything else. So in a way, it was good in that way, but yeah, it was really tough.
Now, talk about what it's like playing in Hockey East and just the competition that you face every weekend, because I feel like it's one of the most underrated conferences in the nation because you have some really tough teams. I feel like it's any team can win on any given night, which I think in some conferences can't say that, which is I think what makes
Yeah.
Hockey East such a unique conference to be in.
Yeah, I mean, like logistically, it's amazing. Like we only have to stay over a couple of times, which I love. The traveling's awesome. It's so many of my former teammates I'm playing against every weekend. A lot of familiar faces, but yeah, I mean, I remember my freshman year, I was like paired up against Jesse Compher, who was on the Olympic team, and I was just this little freshman on a brand new D1 team, and just being able to play against her, like I got so much better in playing against the top lines on Northeastern the last 4 years. It is definitely underrated because there's some superstars in our league. I think even now with the graduating classes, next year is going to be even more of an even playing field. And yeah, I don't think we get as much credit because we don't have as many top 10 teams, but for people like me and schools like Holy Cross, it's such a good league to join into because we've had some amazing upsets and we've had the ability to go into every game and be like, okay, we can win this. And then I think next year is going to be like you're going to be surprised to see who's going to be at the top and the bottom. I think it's going to be completely different, and I'm really excited to see that for next year.
Yeah, I'm excited too, especially with I don't know, I feel like it's obviously I feel like the last 5 years it's been sort of a given that Northeastern probably is going to win Hockey East
Yeah,
just because they have such a strong team, but obviously they're still going to be a very good team next year, but without that top line with Mueller, Collier and Maureen Murphy, I don't think it's a guarantee that they'll win Hockey East next year. So I'm curious to sort of
yeah,
see which teams can sort of compete with them and if any team can find a way to win the conference next year. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
yeah. I'm really excited to see that. I definitely we're gonna see a lot of upsets, and I think we'll see a new Hockey East champion next year. So I'm looking forward to it.
Now, obviously, Holy Cross is a great academic university. So, how do you sort of balance hockey and academics at such a high level?
Yeah, it's a really hard school. I think for a lot of us, we're so used to doing it our whole life that you kind of learn how to manage your time. For me, like I struggle to do my work when our season's over because I feel like I have all the time in the world and then I actually don't. But I think a lot of it for me was doing work on bus rides and just kind of doing it throughout the day because we would practice at night and in the afternoon. So, I mean, a lot of schools practice in the morning, but we were in the afternoon. So I would try to budget my time in the morning. Um, and then, yeah, our coaches help us out too. We have like study halls twice a week. Freshmen are required to go to that, but we can just kind of hop in. But yeah, for me, I never really had too much of an issue for it. If anything, I just felt like managing my time throughout the day. Yeah, it was definitely hard at times, especially in the fall because we really packed in our schedule this past year. But yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Now, obviously, you guys had a tough junior year, but it felt like this past season, it's sort of you started to put some things together, and it really felt like the program took a step forward in the right direction. So I sort of want to ask you what made this past year's team different than the teams you've played on during your freshman, sophomore, and junior year?
Yeah, I feel like every year we would say internally, every year we've gotten incrementally better. We've gotten deeper. I mean, the turning point I'd say for us was going into my sophomore year was when we had all four classes were like D1 classes coming in. Um, and then I think my junior year not on paper we were bad. Like we didn't have a good record at all, but every I think we lost like 20 games or 25 games by a goal or like a goal in an empty net. Like that's how we were so close, but we just couldn't find that one piece. Um I think this year we were so close as a team. We just had so much fun together and we had so much confidence. I think the freshmen that came in, they weren't scared. They weren't intimidated by the names they saw on other teams or like our record in the past. They were just kind of like, let's do this. Um, so I think we really started to come together in the second half. I think us sweeping or not sweeping, but beating BU in our series against them was kind of the turning point for us. Where we're like, all right, this is a good team, and then we carried that momentum throughout the rest of the season.
Well, you guys got to play in some cool places your senior year. You guys got to play in Lake Placid. So just talk about those games and what that experience was like.
Yeah, that was really cool. It was a fun road trip for us. Just it was cool to play against different teams. I hadn't played against Syracuse before, um, and so it was really cool to play against them in St. Lawrence. Being in that facility was awesome. I think a bunch of our families got to come up. We got to just do a lot of sightseeing. I don't think I had been up to Lake Placid since I was like 7 or 8. So it was really cool to be back there and be back in the Olympic Center. Um, yeah, I think that that's a great tournament that they should keep doing every year. And it's great to play out of league teams too.
Are you a fan of the movie Miracle, I assume?
Yeah, definitely.
Some great scenes in that. I don't know if you would. I feel like I don't know if you had the chance to like go see like the locker room where the Herb Brooks made that speech or not, because I know it's there. I think they have it like on the door or something.
Yeah, we had well, one of our teammates, I think one of them was on crutches at the time or something. So she was like reenacting when he's on the ice and he like puts his crutches up in the air.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And obviously, as a senior, you were one of the older players on the team. So, what type of leadership did you want to bring to the team? Were you a vocal leader, lead by example? I know you weren't technically the team captain, but I know those seniors have a huge leadership role, whether there's a letter on the jersey or not.
Yeah, for me, I'm definitely a vocal leader. I'm the one yelling on the ice in the locker room, not like in like a yelling way, but like I try to like get everyone going. In practice, I'm always the loudest kid on the ice, and I think people like that out of me. They like that I bring the energy. I definitely have earned the respect from all my teammates. They know that I have a good hockey IQ. So if I give them a pointer or try to talk to them about a play or something, like they're gonna listen to me and they're gonna respect me and learn from me. So I really take pride in that, especially as a senior, just being able to help the freshmen with their confidence and all that. I think I did a good job with that this year.
Now, you guys also got to play at Fenway Park this year. Talk about that experience, what that was like for you, but also to get the win in that game as well, because I feel like not a lot of people sort of expected you to win that game, at least from the
Yeah,
outside world.
that was I think that was definitely an all-time experience. It was like one of the greatest moments ever. Just I just remember walking out to the rink and you're just looking up and like the way that they did it with the media, like you felt like you were in like a professional hockey game. Like it was just so cool. And you're just looking up and you're like the snow's coming down before warm-ups. It just literally felt like a movie scene. Um, and it was so fun to get the win. I think we just had the adrenaline with us and we were I think everyone was just having like the most fun they've ever had. Like in between the periods we were just having a blast. Like no one was worried at all. And even when they scored and it was getting close, we weren't worried. We were genuinely just having so much fun. And so I think that helped us and I think that carried with us through the rest of the year because we were like, okay, this isn't like that serious. We can start bringing some more fun back into this because you can really lose sight of that. So I think that really helped our momentum for the rest of the year. And it was just such a good experience and very grateful that I was able to do that.
Yeah, and you guys got the win against BU the following week at home ice. So how did it feel to sort of maintain that momentum? Because, like you said, you felt that was sort of a turning point for your team this past season.
Yeah, I think the fall for us was super hard. We didn't have a weekend off. I think a lot of us were feeling a little burnt out, and we weren't having any success. So I think coming back and getting that first win of the new year, and then right after beating them again, I think we just were finally like shifting into gear, having fun. It was very light. We were all supporting each other, just like we were getting so close because that time of year we're the only kids in the on the campus or in the dorms, so we're hanging out with each other every day. I feel like that's when the freshmen start kind of coming out of their shell second half. So I think everything was just starting to fall into place.
Was that the best overtime goal you scored in your career, that BU one?
That was the first overtime goal I've scored in
Oh,
my
okay.
college career. So yeah, that was our first ever overtime win at Holy Cross.
Oh, that's crazy. I
So
didn't know that.
yeah, that was great. It's funny. I feel like every overtime we've had, we've like lost the face off, and so that one, I won the face off back to Kaylee Langfels. And in my head, I'm like, okay, this is it. We're actually going to win this overtime. Finally, we got possession. We're ready to go. And it just worked. I mean, I was out there with Lane Lewis too. She made a great play. And yeah, that was also a great feeling.
I don't remember. Did you have a celly for that, or was it more just like the relief, like hands in the
It
air?
was a relief. Yeah, I'm not much of a Sally person. I feel like I just get way too excited. So I just want to go like I just like ran to my teammates.
Now, another big game for your team this past year was when you guys upset UConn in their home barn. Talk about that upset and what it meant for your team because obviously I know you guys beat Vermont earlier in the year, but I feel like the UConn one was a little more important because it was the first time you really beat a ranked team on the road when it sort of showed the versatility, I guess, that your team had.
Yeah, I mean, in my 4 years, we didn't have a lot of success on the road. And going to that rink, first of all, unbelievable rink. Definitely my favorite one to play at now. It's so cool. Um, and so just going there, I think we were all super pumped up again. It's that adrenaline. And we were having a great second half. Everything was starting to come together. Our lines, I feel like we're finally in place. And it's the end of the season. So for me, I was really trying to tell everyone in the locker room, like, hey, we only have X amount of games left. Like, you cannot just like half-ass a game right now. Like, we need to really put it in. I was being selfish, and I was like, for the seniors, this is it for us. So I need everyone to kind of bring it. And I think everyone took that message and ran with it the last couple of games. And so that was a huge one for us, and it felt great. And I think it just legitimizes our team because a lot of people don't take us seriously. And so for us to beat a ranked team late in the season away, I think everyone's starting to realize that they shouldn't mess with Holy Cross.
Now, unfortunately, your team lost to UNH in the playoffs. Even though you lost, what would you take away from that playoff experience? And what will you do to beat UNH next season? Because it feels like they have your number a little bit.
Yeah. Um, I honestly felt great that game. I think my line, uh, I think we had all three goals for our team, something like that. Um, I love the pace of the game. It gets really physical because it's do or die. So you just want to do everything you can to win. I definitely can say that I left it all out there. I felt really good with how I played. I felt really good with how our team played. I just don't think we had the bounces necessarily to win. It was very emotional too. I just remember looking at it because it's your last game wearing the jersey. So I was super sad at the end, but um, nothing to be ashamed of. And I think we're really, really proud of the progress we made this year. And I think we played very well and competitive. Um, so yeah, I'm excited for hopefully next year to get a playoff win.
Now, what will you take away from your Holy Cross hockey career?
Um, I definitely learned a lot to take the losses, and I learned how valuable a win is, especially coming from our team. And I definitely learned how to be a good leader the last 2 years, being an upperclassman, and just getting more confident. I feel very confident in my hockey ability now, and I feel very confident in whatever team I'm on, and that we can play and beat anyone. I think for us, when we were underclassmen, we would go to Northeastern, we would go to BC, and we'd be like, all right, like this, all right, let's just get this over with. I think we shifted gears my second half, and so now that's my mindset. I'm like, all right, we're gonna go in here and beat this team. We're not gonna be afraid to lose. We're gonna demand a win, and so I think that's what I'll take into next year.
So we're now in a segment I like to call the non-hockey segment, where I ask you some non-hockey questions just to get to know you a little bit more off the ice. So
Awesome.
my first one is, what music do you like to listen to?
Um, I like Taylor Swift. I like country, but only in the summer, and I really like old classic rock
Nice.
from like the 60s and 70s. Yeah.
Were you able to see Taylor Swift at Gillette this past weekend?
No, touchy subject. Couldn't get the tickets.
I saw people though, they were like standing out in Patriot Place just listening to the concert, like they didn't have
I
tickets, which I
know.
guess you weren't allowed to do, but people still did it anyway, and it was packed.
Yeah,
Like it's just crazy how many people go to see that show.
I know. It looked unbelievable, but I ended up going. We have like a Cape Week at our school, so I was there. But I'm sad I missed it. It looked awesome, and I keep seeing videos of it.
What is your most embarrassing hockey moment?
I was trying to think about this. I don't know if me breaking my leg when I was playing is embarrassing or just scary,
I
but
feel like it's scary to me at least.
I did break my leg when I was little, and when I was playing boys hockey, and my dad and a bunch of other parents like wrapped my leg in like a broken hockey stick, and then they like wrapped my sweatpants around it and like made a homemade splint. So looking back on it, it was really funny. But other than that, I think I like missed an empty net from like 5 feet away when I was little, and that like haunts me still.
Yeah, I get that, but at least it's not on video, so people don't get to like show it
Yeah,
to you over and over again. Like if
exactly.
it would happen in college, I feel like it would be a little bit worse.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about some of your teammates. Who's the funniest on the team?
We have a lot of characters. I'd say it's probably a toss up between Gracie Johnson and Emily Fortunato, who are both D. Two of my close friends. They're hilarious in the locker room, and they really bring that good comedic relief for us.
Now I think you have the best style on the team, Mary, but besides yourself, who would you say has the best pregame style on the team?
I'd have to go with Lily Cataldo. She always just she brings the heat every game. It's very impressive. She has a very extensive wardrobe too, so yeah, she has good style.
Now, what's the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
I'd have to go with that PGA tournament when the pro golfer got a hole in one in his
That's
first ever
cool.
tournament. Yeah, that was awesome to see. My family really likes watching golf, and we were going nuts about that.
Do you like Kepka, the guy who that won it?
Um,
I know he's
I
very controversial, so
yeah, I'm not the biggest fan. I like I like John the Rom guy who won Masters. He seems like a very like wholesome guy and
yeah.
personable. I like that.
I don't know if you saw Kepka at the Panthers game last night,
Yeah.
but it was like the funniest video ever because he's not blinking at all and he's just clapping like so much. And
Yep.
I don't know why that video just made me laugh so hard because
Yeah, that
it
was so
looks so
scary.
weird. I think the most interesting thing that I saw this week was probably just what's going on with the Maple Leafs and like their whole
Yeah.
GM situation and just and then the Florida Panthers too. Like I think it's crazy that they're likely to win this series against the Hurricanes. Obviously, anything's possible, but I just think it makes the Bruins look a little bit better because the fact that it took them 7 games to beat them, and the Panthers have been probably the two other
Yeah.
best teams in the Eastern Conference, like 5 and 4 games. So
I like jokingly put Florida in 7 against the Bruins in the first round on my bracket. I unfortunately had the Rangers going a lot further. But yeah, I now I love Florida. They're so gritty. They're so fun to watch. So
yeah,
yeah, I'm rooting for them now.
I do like to Chuck too. I don't know if you saw the interview
Yeah.
where he asked him about like what's his dad doing. He's like he's just laying on his couch in Florida. Like just I'm like that's probably what I would do if I were Matt
Yeah.
Chuck's dad as well.
It's awesome.
Well, one more non-hockey question is if you could have lunch with anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
Oh wow. Um, that's a really good question. Anyone in the world? Uh Wow, you really caught me off guard with this one.
I put on the script, so I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, I thought so.
Oh.
If you want, I'll try to think of my answer. I usually say like Tom Brady just because I think he seems like an interesting
Yeah,
guy.
I'm trying to keep I'll keep the sports momentum going. I'm trying to think. Mm, anyone in the world? I really like the like WNBA and the I like watching them and the soccer league. So I'd probably say like Sue Bird
Yeah.
and Megan Rapinoe. I'd love to have lunch with them. They just seem awesome and they're just amazing athletes and they're so gritty and they also just have they carry themselves so well. So probably them. It would be cool to have lunch with them.
Well, getting back to some hockey questions now. First one is for all the younger people listening to this. So what advice would you give them on what it takes to make it to college hockey where you are today?
I'd have to say so I work with a lot of younger girl hockey players in the summer, and some of them just are unbelievably talented with their stick skills. Like they can do stuff that I can't do at all. But a lot of them struggle with the IQ. So my biggest piece of advice would just to watch as much hockey as you can and just immerse yourself in hockey. Watch women's hockey, watch men's hockey, NHL, college, everything. It really helps like develop your IQ a lot. So
Now, any shout outs you want to give to your former teammates, I guess current teammates with Merrimack, and who should we have on the podcast next?
yeah, I'll shout out my new team. I'm really excited to meet all of them and get to campus, win some games. I think you should have Emily Fortunato. She's hilarious.
Awesome.
She was one of my she was my little sister on our team the last couple of years. So we're very close, and I think she'd be really interesting to put on the podcast.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Mary. I really appreciate it. I wish you nothing but the best with Merrimack next season and can't wait to see you back on the ice soon and enjoy your off season.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited for next year.